All right, guys, welcome to episode 8 of the Be Better podcast. I'm here with my good friend Garrett. Garrett, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Nate, for having me. Today.
Absolutely, brother. So let's just dive in, man. I know you are a health and fitness nut. I mean, where did that journey kind of start? Where did it stem from? Like, what's the drive that basically pushes you forward?
Well, the biggest thing was last August, at the beginning of August, I went to the doctor for annual physical, things like that, and got on the scale and saw the number at like 347, and I was like, that's not where I need to be or anything. And I tried going up the stairs like a week before, and I tried running up, and it was just dog shit out of tired, everything. So I was just like, I need to change something. So that's what like really started it and stuff. I just wanted to like get down, and then eventually I like tried to set a goal of like where I want to get to eventually with that. My goal was initially 100 pounds in a year, which was kind of ambitious, but people have done it. I didn't hit it, but I still got to like 90 pounds in that first year from last August to this August. So that was good, but no, what really just started it is like first I just wanted to get like a little more in shape, so I didn't even like start hitting the weights or anything like that like right off the bat for like a couple months. I just started going to the gym, getting on the treadmill, just getting a little cardio in, things like that. Started eating better. Main thing is cutting out my late night snacks. Terrible at that. That's when I would usually get hungry, so that's what I started to do. Cut back on portions a big ton. Instead of eating for like 2 or 3 people, I'm eating for one person sometimes, a little more, but you gotta indulge a little bit sometimes.
For sure.
What's that? And then October, like towards the middle of October, I got what my dad lost 60 pounds in like a year or something like that. So he sent me over like what his plan is, and that's what I just kind of base things off of. Do like a couple exercises here and there with that. Go through what's set on that day, and then whatever I feel like now. Especially since I've been doing it for 9-10 months now with the weightlifting, just trying different things, doing a little bit of this, maybe putting in work on one muscle, adding like a little bit on this day just to like hit it twice a week and things like that. But it's just really the consistency and things like that, and like just getting yourself in a routine or something that you really want to do and where you want to, because there has been times where it's like I didn't go for like a week or two and things like that, but I like kept up with my eating and things like that. But as long as you stay consistent, I feel like, and you eventually get that drive to where you want to go or you see yourself, and once you start to like love it and things like that, like anybody can do it. Like it's not as hard as some people think. You just got to have that will and that drive to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the habit part is what's huge, right? Because like I've always been, at least in the last couple of years, right? In high school, I lift weights twice a day, do a little cardio, and it was working out great. But since then, it's always been like, oh, I'll go 2 times a week, and in my mind it's enough. When in reality, it's not. I think I read where the other day, like most Americans get less than 30 minutes of exercise a week, which is horrible. It's a real statistic. It's horrible. And like you're going, I see you every morning there. I don't see you every morning there, but I see you post every morning there that you're there at 5:30 sharp, and you stay till easily 8 o'clock, if not later. Yeah. On the days that I go and work out with you too, like I have to split out. I get there 6 o'clock ish, and have to split out at 7:30 ish for work. But you're still in there grinding, man. I think you've developed that habit, and I think that's huge, man. Like people just need to get in there and do the work, develop a habit until they love it, and then it's just gonna become second nature. Where if a day comes by where you don't work out, you're like, oh shit, like my whole day's off.
It just throws it off. And like since I was like going to school last semester, I would do it like after school, like, and that's like kind of like maybe in between 11 and 3, just random whenever I would get done, and that was fine and dandy. And then I noticed I went a couple times early in the morning on days like I didn't have school and things like that, and I like that. I like the crowd, things like that. There's not as many people and things like that. You start seeing like the same faces and things like that, and I think like a key thing is like once you see, I guess you can say, regulars of those people that always come in, and like people like point out, hey, I've noticed a big change in like from here and here when I started going and things like that. like that does like motivate you even more and give you a lot more confidence with that. But it's like I started, I wanted the habit of, hey, I got work sometimes early in the morning. I wake up at 5 o'clock already for that. I don't mind waking up early at all, so I just started to do that, and now it's like that's what I do Monday through Friday. Even on the weekends, I wake up at 5 and things like that, and just start my day off. I feel like I know there's maybe like some statistics and things like that like working out in the morning is more beneficial, but working out anytime, whenever you can squeeze in the time, whatever is like best for you. Some people are not morning people; they can't like get themselves up and do that, and that's fine, Whenever you are able to like get into the gym and things like that, that's really key.
Yeah, for sure. For me, for the longest time, when I was younger, I was always that like 10 p.m. the gym guy, right? I'd go in there and I'd fucking work out from 10 to 11:30, whatever, go home, watch TV, and then go to bed, right? And like that worked for me when I was younger, but like nowadays, there's no way. Like I have to like, cause work and other things, like they just take so much time. Like at the end of the workday, like I'm not motivated to go. I need to get up there, and like I think working out with you has been really helpful for me because you go super early, right when the place opens, and I'm there at 6, 30 minutes after, and there is definitely some scientific benefits to working out first thing in the morning. There's a quote that I've always lived by. It's called like eating that frog, right? You ever heard that before?
No, I have not.
So it's in the sales world. If anybody's in sales, you've probably heard this before. But you eat the frog, which means like you do the hardest task of the day first, right?
And my dad did teach me that like I would always want to task or do the hardest homework or hardest, because then everything after that just is a lot easier and it just flows right through. But
yeah, absolutely, man. So I think even if your day goes to shit too, right? Just to know, hey, listen, at 6 o'clock before 80% of the people in the world are awake, I went out there, I busted my ass, I got a good workout in, I'm feeling good. So even if your rest of your day goes to shit, you get the worst news ever, car breaks down, whatever, you got a good workout in, and that's a huge accomplishment too. That's why we always say eat the frog first. In the sales world in my job, anytime you need to put out a fire or anything first, like that's important, that's going to be difficult, knock it out first, man, because the rest of the day is just going to be easier. And also, too, like, you should be handling those difficult tasks first anyways.
I feel like with doing that in the morning, it just, like, makes you feel so good. It's like you're setting your day up for success. There's also, like, I've watched a bunch of motivational things on YouTube and things like that. But I think there was the one, was some general or some commander at, like, a Texas university in 2014. He would like tell his like Marines or things like that. He says the first thing you do in the morning is always make your bed.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And I've always done that. And I didn't even think that it's like one small task after another. You do that, then you're this, then this, then this. Yeah. And it just snowballs, and then.
But isn't that with anything though? Like it all starts in small. Like people think these huge changes can happen, majorly, and it's all small, gradual efforts that lead to the big picture.
Yes. Like, I would say, like, there's been, like, many people and things are like, oh, yeah, that first initial weight's gonna, just melt right off. And it did. I lost, like, 50 pounds in, like, 3 months. I was like, okay, sweet, let's go. But then it's, like, slowly, it's, like, it's harder and harder. And then it's, like, no matter, you're still putting in the same effort now, even if not more, but it's, like, it's taking a little longer. Good buddy of mine, George, always said, don't let the scale discourage you. Just ignore it. I weigh myself about every day. I write it down on a piece of paper and stuff like that just because I want to eventually like see the line graph, seeing it go up, and different things like that. Just to, see where you started and where you're going, because it's possible.
For sure, man. I think that goes with anything in life too, man. Not just weight loss, not just fitness, not just finances, whatever. Like, don't be discouraged by the information that you see instantaneously, right? Because I feel like, and we've talked about this in other podcasts, and me and you've even said this before too. As a society, we're so caught up in the instant gratification of things, because everything's available for us right now, right? And that's a huge, huge, huge deterrent to real progress, because if you're trying to lose weight, you were 347, and you worked out for one day and you're expecting to be 247, it's not going to be there, right? But people expect these crazy changes to happen overnight, And, even if they put in the effort or they don't, right, the changes are going to come gradually with consistency. They're not going to come with, a little bit of luck in a short period of time.
And, I see that whenever, any days now, as people are so used to with the technology too, talking about instantaneous things, it's like everything's so instant now on our phones and things like that, that it goes back to what you just said. Everybody wants instant gratification, and it doesn't matter what it is nowadays. And sometimes I feel like people aren't willing to work for it, because, I got to actually work hard for this longer than, set amount of time to get where I want to go. Those people haven't made millions of dollars just by sitting on their ass. They bust their ass almost every day. You see those people that have like crazy work routines. It's like they only get this amount of sleep or whatever, but then it's like they go all day long. Be Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and all those guys up top. They have crazy routines and everything.
Yeah, they really do. And, another thing to go back to the podcast, we talked about the other day about having consistency in a business plan and just having a plan in general. Mm-hmm. All those guys you're talking about, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all the super rich and elite, even your star athletes, right? Like even like your LeBron James, your Tom Brady's, your Patrick Mahomes, they have a plan, and it's a consistent plan. It's something that they follow to a T that allow them to be successful. They don't wake up every day and decide, oh, well, you know what? I'm just going to train this day. I'm just going to train at 2 p.m. today. No, it's every day, 7 a.m., Monday through Friday, they're training.
Routine. Habit. And things like that. We're creatures of habit.
Absolutely.
All of us are. It's just goes back to it. It's just like once you get yourself in a bad habit, then it's hard to break. But the same thing is once you get yourself in a good habit, it's easy. It just becomes normal.
For sure. So you mentioned something a little bit earlier, just a couple minutes ago, about like motivational figures and like watching that video of that. I think it was a Navy general, if I'm not mistaken, or Navy Rear Admiral, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I don't know his name, but anybody can look it up. Just type in, U.S. Navy Admiral speech, and he'll pop up. He spoke in front of Congress. I think he spoke in front of a college graduation.
Yeah, it was college graduation.
It might have been Annapolis, the Naval Academy, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know why I said Congress, but. He spoke there, and it resonated with a lot of people. Besides him, and we don't even know his name, who else do you really use for motivation?
I would say I use my grandfather and things like that. Even my dad a little bit, just to see, hey, he was able to do this and things like that. But my grandfather really like stuck with me. He's like, you got to work hard to actually like get what you want. He was always there for me. Like when I was going down. In the wrong place and things like that. He's like, well, you got to, do this or that and get yourself right. But you can like, and it's not even like just them. I would say like, ultimately it just goes back to like my faith too, because it's like, I like to read the Bible too. I try to read like at least 10 pages a day, just randomly open up the book and see where it goes and things like that. But the Lord has been really beneficial to me as well. A lot of people.
Yeah. And that might be a huge factor that people don't really utilize. We met with our priest yesterday. We're getting married, obviously, in a couple of days, and we're both Catholic. So, there's a Catholic process to be married, and we had to meet with our priest every month, to go with different things. And the priest and I had a conversation yesterday about like the lack of faith in households and causing all these social issues and society issues, and really what it is, man, I think is I don't necessarily believe excuse me, that an individual has to go to church every Sunday to be close to God. No. I think that personally for me, my relationship with God is personal. It's behind closed doors, but it's also out in public. I will always be glad to talk about it and share, but like I don't feel like I need to give somebody
not talking to her in a sense like that.
Or I don't feel like I need to join a group of 1,000 people to be close to God. No. My conversations with God always come, when it's a private matter. And, one thing that I've actually learned is like people normally only talk to God when they ask for things. And it should be the same as talking to your spouse. It should be the same as talking to a friend. There's been many times where I've prayed to God and I've never asked for anything. There's been more times that I have asked for stuff, of course, but there's been many times where, I speak to God and ask him for guidance, or I need his opinion on something, or I need him to work, let me work it through in my brain, whatever. But also, a lot of my times, man, are just asking for forgiveness and thanking him for what I have. And, anybody out there that's religious or not religious, man, like I would just encourage you to have some form of relationship with some form of a higher power.
Just, yeah, it goes to that. It's just like some form of a higher power. Like, I heard, I've seen like things online, when, trying to go sober and things like that. They're like, you could just like look at the chair, this like bar top right here and stuff. That can be your higher power. It doesn't have to, be anything extravagant or things like that. Just like something that you can feel you can hold yourself accountable or push you in certain ways. It's different for everybody, but I do agree with you on like for my with faith. I don't like to go to church necessarily every Sunday and things like that. I feel like it's a lot more singing and musical, in my opinion, nowadays. Like, I don't mind like the Christian songs and things like that they all do, but I'm more of talk to him when I need to, when I want to, like you said, whenever you need guidance and things like that. But it's like, really, the biggest thing I think is just trusting in the process. Just trust him. It may not seem like it's going your way or anything, but he has a plan, and you just gotta let it all happen.
Yeah, I agree. And what's refreshing to me, man, is that I was actually I was baptized Catholic, and I don't share this story often, but I'll share it with you, of course. But I was baptized Catholic, went to Catholic school for a long time, moved out here when I was 12, got adopted, and I'd say from like when I was 13 to probably 16, I was an atheist. Completely abandoned my religion, just didn't even give a fuck about it, just didn't care, like it was bullshit, was influenced by some others, but like making very bad decisions from 13 to 16. If anybody knew me from 13 to 16, please re-meet me, because I am not the same person by any means. But, gave up my religion, lost my faith, and I had a series of events that happened to me that restored my faith, and a couple of them were near-death experiences where, I'll just share two of them real quick because they're kind of crazy. I was 16 and a half, because my birthday's in March. I was 16 and a half, give or take, and we were leaving the fireworks stand out there by off 109, off the gravel road. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
My buddy was driving. He used to drive this Saab that was a death trap. I mean, the thing would just turn off randomly while he was driving, and he would just lose power steering, lose brakes, and just have to slowly drift to the side of the road and pretty much crash. So luckily enough, the car is gone, but he didn't get hurt or anything by it. But anyways, we were pulling out of the lot, and there was a huge like Ford Econo van coming towards us. And, he was coming this way, and we were going this way, right, towards Eureka. So he was going towards FF&W, and we were going this way. And my buddy pulls out in front of him, and this guy's probably going 65. You know how that road is. People speed. And car died. And we're
stopped right in
the middle. And we're in the lane. And this guy is maybe 25 yards from smacking us, dude. And I'm thinking, this is it. I'm like, we're going to die. I'm like, this is it. We're in a fucking sedan, basically a soda can with wheels. It's a Saab, so the aluminum on it's this thick. Yeah. None of us were wearing seatbelts. And something pushed us out of the way. And I'm not trying to sound crazy or conspiratorial or whatever the fuck weird about it, but like his car was off, and yet it went from a dead stop to pushed out of the way. And that car sped by, and then the car turned on, and we drove our merry way. So that was one instance where I realized, hey man, something bigger is at play here. A week later, I was asleep, and I was dreaming. And my dream was in black and white for some reason. And, we used to garage hop and car hop, stupid things that young kids do, right? And we would never take anything important. Like, there was this house in Wildwood that, they always had, a big stack of Gatorades. So, we know on a summer day, we could go into their garage and grab a Gatorade. Now, funny enough, I would always believe, I'm not a big fan of stealing. I would always leave $1. I would always leave a $1 bill where we took the Gatorade. So, it was kind of funny. But in my dream, we were, in a neighborhood around here, and we were car hopping. And some guy came out and shot me. And I, went to the hospital, and basically the surgeon was telling my family, hey, there's a 20% chance he's going to make it. Well, I died in my dream, and I woke up, and I was in hell. And I saw a vision of hell, and it was absolutely the worst fucking thing you can imagine. I get chills talking about it. I have nightmares about it. But I saw a vision of hell, and basically, a scroll bar came up with, the 7 layers of hell, and basically like a list came down and like it was just randomly selecting which level I was going to go to, and I got chose to go to level 4, which is where they ripped you apart and then sewed you back together and then ripped you apart again, continues forever. So, continuing my dream, I experienced that for a couple seconds, right? And then Jesus saved me. Jesus came down and in my dream, and big light came and brought me back. And I woke up, and I was sweating profusely, and I was crying. And from that moment, I knew, like, hey, listen, like, there's no doubt in my mind. This dude's trying to give me signs. I need to open my eyes and stop ignoring it. And ever since then, I've been pretty close with my faith. I've never had any doubts about my faith. I've never had any doubts about my religion of choice. So, I say that story, and I'm sorry for the ramble, but I say that story to the people that are ever going to listen to this, and to you, Garrett. Like, I don't care if you believe in God or Christianity, but please put your faith in something other than yourself. Because ever since I did, my life has made a complete 180, and it's progressed in the right direction ever since.
No, it's like, I feel like, too, it's like some of those people that have lost their faith and, things like that, turn their head against him and things like that. And all of a sudden when they come back, it's like they just come back 10 times stronger. It's like they just, finally needed that awakening in a sense and things like that. Or you just never have felt that in your whole life, and then you finally find them, and it just saves you in many ways.
Yeah. Here recently, too, like, maybe it's just me becoming married, but, like, I've been speaking to God. I speak to God a couple times a week normally, but, like, here he's been very more often throughout the day, even more so at night, of course, more consistently, because I want to go into my marriage with the best possible, like, connection with him, possible.
Have him at the center of your relationship in a sense.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of small sins that I've been committing for years that, I've decided to try to cut it out of my life, swearing, I cuss like a sailor, and, just small little things like that. Like, I've been trying to work on to not really, I don't know, man. It's just, you can feel when you're being drawn towards them. You know what I mean? Like, there's something in your gut that's just intuition that you can feel being drawn into that presence. And I'm thankful for it, man. I'm hoping that my relationship with that, with God still progresses.
Yeah, it's like, too, it's like once I wake up every morning, one of the first things I do after, going to the restroom, whatever, morning duty always calls, but it's like after that, it's like I go to my bedside and pray every morning, I done that religiously now for like the past couple of years, and I've, it's just talk to him, just let him know what's going on and what you're hoping for and things like that, and help give you guidance. It's just like you said.
Yeah, one thing that I've actually been doing, I've been doing a lot of reading, and I'm finishing a book now, The Stoics by Marcus Aurelius. I'm almost done with that, and I'm gonna read the Bible after that. That's my next move, and then after that, I have to read The Real Anthony Fauci by RFK. But that's kind of my next 3 books, and 2 books, and I'm gonna go through. But I've been noticing, man, in society, there's so much satanic propaganda everywhere. I mean, I would just go to a store and see something satanic. I would go anytime you look on TV, it's just satanic. In the music, it's satanic. Like, I don't understand why, as Americans, like I said, you don't have to believe in God, you don't have to do whatever, but like, in the off chance that God and Satan isn't real, like in the 1 in a billion, I don't believe that, but for those who don't believe it, right? In the off chance that they're not real, why would you want your children and people that you care about being influenced by the evil person? Why would you not want them influenced by the light and the good side of it? I mean, anybody that ever listens to this, man, I encourage you, watch TV for 20 minutes and really pay attention. And I promise you'll see hundreds of satanic images or wordings or just anything.
I haven't watched the TV for years. I just never thought it's good, And in the morning, it's like when we're working out, it's like when I'm on that treadmill, it's just like, I just laugh and chuckle at, all the things they're talking about. It's just like, I really don't care, besides the weather, when that finally comes on, I'll, try and pay attention, but it's just everybody turning against each other. You see both sides on 2 different, channels, things like that. It's just, we all just gotta love each other in my eyes.
But I think it's division from a satanic source, in my opinion. Not trying to, once again, hate to sound conspiratorial, guys, but I really believe that it's such a critical time in our timeline of being humans that, like, the divisions here, I think it's intentional. People have always had disagreements since the beginning of time. That's apparent, but I think now it's more so than ever. And the satanic images that are in the media nowadays, dude, they're fucking so in your face with it, man. Like back in the day, if you were a satanic worshiper, it'd be closet. You know, you would never know about it, right? It'd be secret societies. Now you have you have people at the Super Bowl dressed like witches. You have people, literally burning effigies at concerts and saying "Welcome to Hell" and on a fucking banner when you walk in. Like, it's just, I cannot believe that people have let them get away with it, man, and not see the corruption. And and if you believe that way and you want to be on that team, then I guess be you, man. But like, I think it's very divisive, but it's just pure evil. I wish more people could wake up and feel and see that evil.
And it's like, yes, we want people to like wake up and see the evil and things like that, but it's like, how much are we going to like try and convince them? Because sometimes it's almost feels like they're too far gone, and it's like they really don't care. They're selfish. That's the main thing. That's what the devil and everything makes you selfish. Once you start like opening your heart and everything up to the world and things like that, and just others, it doesn't have to be family and friends, close friends and things like that. Just Joe Smo on the side of the road and things like that. Just open up to them. Be happy. I do love when I just go to school, just always like saying hi to people and things like that, because it's like sometimes you don't know what somebody is dealing with that day, and just saying good morning or how you doing or hi to them could put a smile and just bring them up a little bit. So it's just the little things too.
Yeah, there was a study that I read one time, and I can't remember what it was. A small town. This obviously would never work on a grand scale, but it was a small town that for like whatever reason like had a slightly above normal suicide rate. People, lower income town, people were just kind of back against the wall and giving up. Well, they selected like 20 people in the town, like anytime they passed a car, to wave. And just a subtle greeting, when like you're driving past me and I wave to you, right? Like that dropped the suicide rate down by quite a bit. And it was just these small things. And I wish people are going to fact check me on this. I hope that you find the study and read it, because I can't remember the actual data or statistic, but it was a noticeable jump. And I've always believed this, man. Like, and the reason why I'm doing this podcast is like, if I can spark an idea in one person, I don't care if 40 people listen to this or 4,000 or 4 billion. I don't care. But if one person gets a good idea or a spark that changes their life in the right direction, it's worth it. Yeah. And I think that what you said, man, like you're being friendly to everybody. And I've seen you in the gym. You say hi to everybody. You talk to everybody. You're a friendly guy. I'm not. I'm a very, me, I don't talk to anybody in the gym. But I admired that about you when we first started working out. You talked to that old man. There's this old guy that's in there every morning with us. And, I would have never talked to him, right? But you talk to him all the time. And you never know, like you said, man, that one little interaction could have really made it could have been, you could have stopped him from committing a mass shooting or killing himself or whatever, like I think people need to be more kind and interact with others.
Well, it's just like too, I don't know if it's the same older gentleman and stuff, but one of the guys, this was it, I don't know, no, not Monday, but Friday, I think, when I was working out and stuff, he told me that, because he calls me Gary, because when I first introduced myself, he thought I said Gary, which is fine, and things like that. But a bunch of my friends call me Gary, so it doesn't bother me. But, to him, he's like, you just remind me of a friend that I had like 40 years ago named Gary, and you're like the spitting image of him. And it just puts a, smile on my face every time I see you when I come in and things like that. It's just like, just you being present sometimes, can just help somebody out, and it's just feels good. Yeah,
I agree, and I think I'm guilty of this, man. I need to work on this too, and it's part of myself. At least
self-awareness.
At least once a week for me, I do what's called self-reflection. So I'll lay there or sit there somewhere by myself in the dark. Normally it's before bed, and I'll just think about reflecting about like, hey, I should have did this differently. I need to act this way. I need to do this, that, whatever. And some of my self-reflection has been, I've always been like where I grew up, man, like you had to be tough and like you can't show weakness. And being kind would be an identifying of weakness. Because as soon as you're kind to somebody, they're going to fuck you over, right? But I've came to figure out nowadays, man, it doesn't have to be that way. Like you can be tough in your own setting and be reserved in your own setting, but in a different setting, you can be kind and courteous people and talk and have that interaction. And if anything, COVID taught us, man, is like we need people. We need interaction. Humans are not a solitary creature. We're not the blue whale that can, swim around for 200 years and not see anybody and be okay. Like we're a tribe in our mindset, and that's how we're wired. And so I appreciate you saying that, and also showing me in person, you being that way, because I hope to embody that as well, and be a little more courteous and reaching out to people. So that's huge, man. I like I said, I commend you for it. I see it in the gym often. So
yeah, no, it is, and it's hard because it's like, yes, growing up too, it's like you don't show emotions or anything like that. So it's just like, hey, it's like, I don't know if it's just being boys, and things like that. You hide your emotion and things like that. It's like, yeah, we can all be, tough as nails too, but it's just good to like just show a little weakness here and there. You don't have to, be all sappy and things like that, but just helping put smiles on other people's faces. It's just good, and I feel like the world needs more kindness.
It always needs more kindness, man. Especially with everything going on in the world. Everybody's so divisive. Everybody's always at each other's throats. I mean, and you see like just normal conversations of like disagreements turn into bloodshed sometimes. I mean, it's just people kill each other over the silliest things. People will stop talking to family members over the silliest things. I mean, unfortunately, I have some family members that like I don't talk to anymore. Not my choice, but their choice because of my political affiliations and my beliefs. Yeah. And dude, when we're at the Thanksgiving table, like it doesn't fucking matter what we're believing, man. I'm happy that you're here. You should be happy I'm here, and we're gonna eat. Yeah. But people can't get past that sometimes.
It's just we gotta like put our differences aside, with that, like, and things like that. And it is, it is hard. It's just like, we can all be accountable and have done that probably in the past. Not anybody's perfect. There's only one perfect person in the world, I believe. But, it's just like noticing. It's like your self-awareness, your self-check and things like that you do. It's just like, hey, I, was thinking this about, so-and-so or what they were and things like that. Just being self-aware and be like, hey, I need to work on this, things like that. It's just, it can go a long way eventually.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, in my true beliefs, man, I think we're running out of time. I think we're running out of time as a nation. I think we're running out of time as a world, man, because, it's really only a matter of time before something catastrophic happens where we're going to have to rely on people and rely on each other. But if we don't have that foundation set, man, we're going to be fucked. It's going to be screwed up, and, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if an asteroid came and took out a continent, right, or hit somewhere and, there was global disparity, like, dude, are you telling me, like, we're still going to be worried about, like, which president you voted for? Like, when, 10 million people are dead and we're starving, like, is that really what you're going to, like, that's not going to be relevant then, And I think in the grand scheme of things as humans, we have bigger fish to fry than what we think of. Mm-hmm. And it bothers the hell out of me when people get so pissy about petty stuff. And I'm guilty of it, man. I've tried to work on it tremendously, so I hope I can continue that. But, man, like, dude, when it comes down to, like, the brass tacks of being a human, right? In my opinion, the goal should always be two things as a human. One, reproduce. Mm-hmm. That's the logical sense. We're born to reproduce. We have the parts for it, right? So reproduce. But once you're in the right setting, don't reproduce if you're not ready. So, get married, have a degree, or have a good career, have some money saved up, and, be with somebody consistently. Don't just reproduce to reproduce. That's my one contingency. Second is, after reproducing, the only other reason for being alive, in my opinion, is to help progress the gene pool, right? Like, so for example, if we had another pandemic come through, but the mortality rate wasn't 0.02%, it was 80%, all of us should be working together to come up with a cure and solution, right? I mean, if we knew, hey man, like the moon's going to crash into Earth in 200 years, right? We would all be working together to figure out how the fuck to get off this place, But we don't have that intuition as humans. We are like, oh, this person has this land with this resource on it. I want that. This person drives this car. I envy them, so I'm going to take that. And it's so detrimental to society as a whole. And it bothers the shit out of me, to be honest.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so that's my little rant there. Sorry to get off topic there, but back to your fitness journey, man. I think it all starts fundamentally on those levels, and I think what you said earlier about having a plan, having a routine, works really, really well. Before we got on the tangent, you talked about motivational factors. I know you said your grandfather, your father. Is there anybody in the media, like maybe like a David Goggins or anybody like that you listen to that helps you out quite a bit?
No, I'm not too big on anything like that. I feel like it's got to come from within. you could like see something and one day like, yeah, that's gonna like set you off. But I've noticed that it's always just been me. I just want to be better for myself, and I want to be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
I want to is the person that I'm going to be in like 4 or 5 years going to be happy where I am right now? Is he going to wish I did this or that? And things like that. And it's just trying to just be better at everything.
For sure, man. I mean, to be the best version of yourself possible and constantly growing. I think that's huge. What you said, though, is really cool. And not many people say that. Like, it seems like you're only in competition with yourself, which, is, it's very rare because I feel like people are always continuously comparing themselves to others and who they see in social medias and who they see in the regular media, right? And keeping up with the Joneses is the typical norm. But, Garrett, man, you might have cracked the code and figured it out because if you're competing with yourself, you really can't lose, right?
No. There's no point in competing like with me or against you. I want what's best for you, and you probably want what's best for me. There's no point in comparing, hey, you got this car, you got this house, and things like that. There's no point. We just want everybody to succeed at life and things like that. Ultimately, just, comparing yourself to yourself, is going to help you out, I feel like, because it's like, hey, my mind or body only thinks I can go this far. Well, I'm going to push it a little bit and things like that, And that's what I've really like taken in the gym because it's like that person's not working out for me. They're not over here controlling my body or anything like that. It's me,
Yeah. What's funny in regards to that, man? Like, just thinking about like the grand scheme of things, right? And what you said. How many times I wonder do people like walk into a room and think everybody fucking is looking at them, and like in reality, man, like nobody gives a fuck.
I've been guilty of that, and just like I feel like somebody's staring at me or something, or I must be looking funny or things like that. But yeah, and really, and it's like they say that about like going to the gym and like fitness. It's like nobody's there to really look at you or care about you. They're there for themselves, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm sure some people go to you see the people though that go to the gym just to take a TikTok and show their ass or show their biceps. It happens, right? But I agree with you. The large portion, like, dude, when you walk into a grocery store, nobody in that fucking store cares about you. They're there to get back to their life and pick up the milk and go home and deal with whatever. Like, but people are so egotistical and so selfish in their regard of like, oh man, I can't do this because these people are gonna judge me. Man, I promise you, when you're at the hardware store picking up, some tools, not one person in there is thinking about you 2 seconds after you walk out.
We have, it's just an interaction for, just like you said, about 2 seconds. There's so many people that we've seen in our life that we're never going to see again. So it just shouldn't matter.
How many people you think you've seen in your life that you'll never see again? Give me a quantable number.
I feel like 5,000, maybe 10,000.
No, dude, you've been to a Cardinals game.
That's what I mean.
There's like 60,000 people in that stadium alone.
Yeah, but it's like how many of those people were you like really like kind of like face to face or like, you didn't walk by every single person going to your row or things like that or in like walking around. That's why I may be like really lowballing it.
I think you're really lowballing it. I guarantee you. What are you? You're 25, 26?
26.
I guarantee you probably walked past 1 million people in your life. I guarantee it.
Yeah, probably have.
I mean, if you go to think about this. If you go to there's roughly like 50,000 people seats in Busch Stadium, right?
Yeah.
If you've been to 15 Cards games in your life, which
probably,
I've probably been about the same, you've walked past probably at least 10,000 every time. I mean, you're already almost there. I mean, not to considering we went to school with 2,000 kids. I know you've walked by all of them. You've been to grocery stores. You've been to festivals. You've been to fairs. You've traveled. Like, it's just it's totally irrelevant. But it's just funny to think about how many people that you've walked past that you've never said a word to, but you've walked past them. It's weird to think about.
And just like about that, I feel like there's something out there where it's like or you get to know maybe, or you have like acquaintances of maybe like 1,000 to 5,000.
You mean like people you know their names?
Yes, and things like that.
Yeah, I would say that's true. For me, in my business world, I probably have a little higher than that because I'm forced to talk to people. But and I'm sure in other professions too. Like if you're the CEO of a company of 10,000, you probably know more than 1,000 people there, right? I would hope. Fuck if you're the CEO. I would hope you would know the other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of crazy, man. I think if I'm not mistaken, I read that as humans, like we thrive in communities like around 300, if I'm not mistaken, 300 to 400, I think it is, because you're allowed at 300 to 400 people. You have enough time in your life to develop relationships with every one of them, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if I had 1 million followers on Instagram, there's no way in hell I'm going to even be able to spend 2 minutes talking to every one of them. You know what I mean? That would take years of doing that. So I think you're right, though. But it's weird to think. You know what they say, though, about people that you see that you don't talk to, though? They say that those are the people... you ever had a dream where like there's a shit ton of people around? Mm-hmm. They say like those are the people that are in your dreams, like the mass people. Like those faces are the ones that your brain actually picks it up. Yeah. But, like, they just are in storage, I guess.
Well, I feel like I have a pretty good photographic memory, so it's, like, once, like, seeing, like, eventually, like, the same people at the gym or, you know, at school so many amount of times, I'll eventually, like, you know, just say hi to them, you know, things like that, introduce myself and things like that. There was another guy today, I was like, you know, sorry, I keep running into you, you know, what's your name? You know, things like that.
Yeah. So I don't have photographic memory. I have geographical memory. So, like, if I drive somewhere, only if I'm driving, though. Yeah. And maybe if I'm walking, I haven't really experienced
that tree, turn left at
exactly. And you can ask my fiance, she is geographically challenged, which is hilarious. Most people are. But, like, for me, like, if I drive somewhere one time, like, I can get there every time. Like, we drove to Ohio 2 weekends ago for a hunting trip. Mm-hmm. Like, I know for damn sure I could drive all the way to that cabin, no problem. Yeah. You know, and I wouldn't even think twice about it.
I can be the same way. I feel like once I've been to a place, I can go back there. You know.
Yeah. But like we went to Cancun last year, and like I can tell you like from the airport how to get to my hotel. Okay. You know, and I went.
I was going to say in the air. I could. You know.
No. Not nautical, or excuse me, not air miles. Bird's eye view, but like. Literally, like, we just drove in so many fucking taxis on that trip, dude. Like, I could tell you from our hotel, like, where to go, how to get to there, where to get to that, right, left here, you know, this and that. It's just wild, man. And I'm very blessed. I've never been lost. You know, I've never once been, like, on the road, like, fuck, I have no clue where I'm at.
There's something, like, with being lost. I saw it's, like, you know, like, when you're lost in the woods, if you see the same tree or something, you know, you're lost. Well, they can say that with relationships too. If you go back to the same person, you're lost. I've seen that a bunch out there.
Could you explain?
I don't,
because I'm about to get married, man. I see the same person all the time. What are you trying to say?
No, I'm trying to say, like, if you had a failed relationship or like things like that, not necessarily working it out is necessarily going to be the best. Not like just seeing, you know, you wake up next to the same person every day. No.
Gotcha.
No.
They also say that if you're lost, like, how you know north is, like, moss only grows on the north side of the tree.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think something like that. One of the directions.
Dude, I don't know. I'm never lost. I don't know. Like, I've always been...
Look.
Okay, excuse me. I'm going to back it up, because there's going to be my buddy that listens to this podcast, and he's been like, you fucker, I've been lost before. I was lost one time in the woods. One time. My buddy was hunting. We were at his property hunting. And I couldn't figure out how to get... It was like 4:30 in the morning, pitch black. I couldn't figure out how to get to this tree stand. And I was like, dude, listen, I don't know. I can't see. I don't know. So I'm going to rewrite that and basically say, if I can see, I won't be lost.
That is, I would say, pretty realistic.
Yeah, of course. That's funny as hell, man. But so other than working out, man, like obviously you're in the gym religiously 5 days a week. I mean, I even saw on your snap the other day you were like feeling like dog shit. You puked in the gym. You still went. Yeah, like that's dedication, dude. Yeah. I love that. Other than working out and like dominating those goals, man, what else do you do? Like what? Tell me a little bit more about Garrett. Like what's the internals of him?
The internals is, you know, it's like you kind of like almost said like earlier, like the two things with us as like an you know, species or whatever you were saying, like with reproducing and things like that. It's like I always wanted to be a father. You know, that's something that like really drives me, and it's like I haven't like settled down or wanted to be with anybody. I would love to, you know, be with somebody, but it's like I haven't found that like special someone to like do that with, because it's like you said, I want to do it right, you know, the first time. You know, some other things that just tick me, you know, it's like I had a failed experience like going to school for like the first time. I said screw this, things like that, took like a 4-year hiatus is what I called it, just like worked my ass off and things like that. But it's like now going back, it's like I finally like found out like what I really love and things like that. So in a sense, I feel like I'm pursuing my dream and things like that. Many people will just like go to school for what they think they know, and then all of a sudden later down the road, they really know that they hate it.
Yeah.
And they feel stuck there.
I know many people that have degrees in fields that they absolutely hate. I know a friend of mine that has a master's degree in psychology, and they worked at a restaurant in high school. They make more money at the restaurant than they do with a master's degree in psychology. And they went and became a prison psychiatrist. They went to become a social worker, and they make more money now doing something completely unrelated, and they're much happier. So it's funny, like, people a lot of times, man, I feel like they get degrees in whatever subject, and it might be interesting at the time, dude, but if you don't have a passion for it, like, you're gonna be miserable. And I'm glad that you're that way in two settings. I'm glad that you're that way in your educational and in your academia, but I'm also glad you're in that way in your love life, man, because there's a lot of people out there that get married for 30 years and then they're like, fuck, I hate this person, and she hates me, or he hates me, whatever. Yeah. And then what? 30 years later, they're 50 years old and they're restarting. And it's a lot harder then, guys.
Oh yeah, it's a lot harder. And it's like, yeah, sometimes it's like too, it's like, why haven't I found, all my buddies are now like in relationships or married now and then stuff like that. So I'm just like, when is it going to be my turn eventually? But I'm just like, I know God has a right plan and person planned out for me. And, just going along, trying to be the best version of myself and improve on myself before, I get there. Because I don't want to have to go backwards and be like, oh, I really need to change this about myself now. I want to be the best version. I'm not going to say perfect, because there's always going to be something to work on. Something little, and things like that. But those major challenges that you have, either it be personally, mentally, physically, whatever, how you act as a person, things like that. It's better to like realize that earlier than later down the road. And that's a major issue in that relationship or things like that.
For sure, man. And, I firmly believe this, man. Like, if you can't love yourself, you're never going to be able to love somebody else. I mean, to the extent, you can portray it a little bit and maybe get snippets, but you're never going to be able to, like, love somebody the way that they deserve to be loved and what you can give, truly, man. I think, I have a little bit of experience in this. I'm getting married in a couple of days, and we've been together 4 years, and, hopefully many, many more to come. But, man, like, I will tell you, in regards to finding a relationship, dude, like, I found this one, and I wasn't looking.
That's what everybody says, and that's what I'm.
It's like the more you look for it, man. Like the more you look for it, the less likely it's going to happen. You just have to be natural with it. I mean, I trusted God, I trusted His plan, and by the spur of a moment, our relationship started with me. She had a fucking story. This is how stupid it is. How crazy life works, man. She had a story on Instagram. She asked a question, and I asked her a question, and my question was, "What does a guy like me have to? What does a guy like me have to do to talk to a girl like you?" And she goes, "Just say hi." A week later, we're on our first date, and then, a week after that, we're on another date, and another date, and another date, and then, a year and a half from that, we moved in with each other, and then 2 years from that, we bought a house, have 2 dogs, 27 chickens, and 2 fucking turtles, and now we're getting married. I mean, it's just
like... I thought I heard chickens.
Oh, yeah, you hear, 27 of them out there. I just adopted a new rooster. But, yeah, man, it's just crazy how life can just progress in the most beautiful way when you're not even expecting it to, not even look for it, man. But, like, you're doing all the things in the background, right? You're doing all the right things by being the best version of yourself, like improving yourself slightly, just a little bit every day, in whatever category, financially, spiritually, religiously,
just a little
physically,
something.
Anything, man. Because as soon as people get complacent, as soon as people start being content with what they have and what they are, that's whenever they start slipping. And that's when old habits start popping back up. That's whenever you're like, oh, I worked out, 20 days last month. I don't need to go this month, right? Yeah. And then what happens? The weight comes back.
Back to square one.
Exactly. You're back to square one, and then it's harder to get back on that horse.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, consistency towards the right progression is the ultimate life hack.
And, this isn't my first go-around necessarily at trying to lose weight or things like that. This is like my 4th or 5th. It's like, I just feel like when the time's right, it's finally going to kick in for you and you're really going to go all in. But you can say that with many different things like that. It's just because you failed doesn't mean you shouldn't keep trying to do what you want to do or things like that. It's going to work out the harder you try, I feel like.
Well, let me ask you this too. You said like, things the right timing, right? Do you think that sometimes people will wait around for the right time and it'll be never? And like people have to sometimes kind of spark that initiative for it to be the right time because
Yes,
I see a lot of people all the time like so I do some real estate investing, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the real estate world, they're always like, oh, well, I'm going to wait for this. I'm going to wait for this. I'm going to wait for that. Well, what happens? This or that never comes around. And then they're 60 years old and they're on their fucking, they're sitting in their house like, damn, I wish I would have did this and that. So I feel like there's definitely indicators of when to start maybe in the right time. But like nobody's coming to save you. Don't wait for somebody to come and throw you a life vest, man. Start fucking paddling.
So, somebody's not going to throw a brick at your head and knock some sense into you. It can be said like, you said you invest in like real estate, but just like investing, they say it doesn't matter how the stock market's doing, whether it be shitty.
Just
just throwing money at every single opportunity you get the chance. You're eventually going to grow and things like that. You can take a lot of different things and apply it to other things. It just with that though, I feel like the timing. Yes, sometimes people are just waiting for like the right time. I can say I'm doing that right now. I keep wanting to say I'm going to do some work around the house, but I keep saying, it's too hot, and things like that. I'm going to wait till it cools down. And it's been like 6-7 months. Now we're back. It's about to start cooling down. I'm like, okay, now then it's going to be ready now. Yeah. And I just don't want,
But don't let that window slip and be like, you know what? It's kind of cold outside. I'm going to wait for it to warm up. Yeah. Don't let that window slip. For example, owning a house, which I do, there's always something to be done. I built these raised flower beds yesterday, and then I just early this morning, I filled them up with some potting soil, and I planted some broccoli, and trying to get a late harvest. We'll see what happens. I'm optimistic, but either way, I feel like procrastination is terrible in a lot of senses, right? Just even if you're waiting, and trust me, I get it, dude. Like I'm never cutting the grass in July at 3:00. Like it's hot as fuck. I'm never gonna do that. But is there something else on my list that I might be able to get done in the meantime to help my workload diminish? Yeah. And then at 7:00 or 6:00 when the sun's setting, maybe I can cut it then,
Yeah. Or it's just like, sometimes it's like, hey, you have like your set day of like things you want to do or like get things done, and then, you're done. It's like get everything done because then you can just relax afterwards. And I say that, but then also with some things I do procrastinate and not want to do them until like it's last minute, or I really get bugged about it that I need to go do that and things like that. But just when that problem occurs, it's better to just go tackle it then than wait, I feel like too.
I agree too, man. And like we said earlier, right, eat the frog first thing. Yeah. Like if it's a difficult task, rip the Band-Aid off, put the fire out, do whatever you need to do, but dominate that as soon as possible, as soon as you can. And then the rest of the day is going to be a cakewalk. I mean, you already have a win, or you've already dealt with it. Even if you don't win, at least the problem's not going on anymore, I mean, that's how I feel about working out. Like I said, like I love going to the gym with you early in the morning because like no matter what else happens during the day, I got a kick-ass workout in, and I feel good, and my world could go to shit quickly, but hey, at least I did something that's beneficial to me first thing.
And just at least getting the one thing done, just it can change your mood and things like that, just like you said, with just the rest of the day goes to shit and things like that. But at least you had that to look forward to, or maybe that's like something you do the next day. So it's something like, hey, it's going to turn around again tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I want to learn a little bit more about you, though. Like, obviously, your fitness journey and stuff like that. I think we got it knocked in. I think if anybody out there has any questions, they should reach out to you directly. I've reached out to you, and you've shared with me some great info. But like, you're in school. Mm-hmm. What's actually the next steps for you, man? Where are you trying to go? What's the let's do a timeline, right? Let's give me a Garrett 5 years from now. Give me a Garrett at 10 years from now. Give me a Garrett 20 years from now. Give me a Garrett in retirement.
5 years from now, should be graduated. I only have like 2.5 more years of school. So in a job, hopefully.
What career? What field?
Game design.
That's right.
I'm hoping to, at least be working in a company, within, with that's work and like school and things like that. I would say, physically, back to, or the ideal weight that I want, or the ideal body. I'm not trying to get shredded or things like that. I just
be healthy.
I just want to be healthy, and yeah, that's just, I feel like, very important, being healthy. And then I would say, I would like to, maybe be in a potential relationship. I'm not gonna, try and be like married in 5 years. Because I would love to be dating that person like for a couple years before, just popping the question and things like that. Because a lot can go wrong if you do those, quick bang bang kind of thing. You actually get to see how a person acts, and it's like you guys moved in and things like that. You're all good and with that regard, and that's what you're doing now. 10 years from now, I would say still at that same job, or move to maybe a higher company in the game design. By then married, maybe have a kid, matters when in that time. Then after that, I would say 20 years, because my end goal is to eventually have my own company in game, creating my own games, but I know I'm not going to go that right out of the gate. I got to get the experience and learn all this stuff. But that's something like where I would eventually want to go to, because it's like have my own company and things like that. Have some people down below me that really want the best and want to just enjoy what I love to do. And that's to game and things like that. Then have some kids. Be happily married and things like that. Maybe go on some fun vacations around the world with the wife and kids eventually. I don't know during that time, but then, after that, retirement. So yeah, by then I would love to have, the grandkids and things like that, but just throughout that whole process, just be healthy, closer to God, things like that. I feel like I didn't talk about that or say that, but I feel like, just build on my relationship constantly with the Lord and Savior, because without him, I feel like I wouldn't be here with, many regards.
Yeah, completely agree. So I had a question about all that. So obviously the career centric around that's going to allow a lot of things to progress is game design. Mm-hmm. What kind of genres do you like?
I kind of dabble in everything except Souls. Souls are like those really hard games. I just haven't gotten into that.
Can you name one?
One of the Souls games, Dark Souls.
Oh, yeah.
Elden Ring, I think, is considered one.
Like Diablo.
Yeah, Diablo.
All that shit. Yeah, that's cool. I know a lot of people love them. I'm not really into that shit either. It's just, I don't know, man. Just not for me.
That's what I mean.
I'm not a World of Warcraft guy. I just can't.
And it's like, I eventually would like to play, I think I want to do Elder Scrolls eventually and things like that. Play like all that series, but...
You've never played an Elder Scroll?
No. Oh, fuck. I know. It's amazing.
Oh my god, dude, I have probably fucking 700 hours on Skyrim, for fuck's sake. I've done everything in the game.
And that goes to like, what I like to do is just like, those open world or RPGs, things like that, just exploring and things like that.
Well, what do you play now?
Right now I'm playing some Call of Duties, but I'm a big trophy hunter. So it's not like really like I'm playing online, but the other week I finished up an Assassin's Creed.
There we go. You're restoring my faith in you, man. When you said Call of Duty, I was like,
well, I have them all, so I'm just going through playing. I'm getting rid of it now, so I don't have to worry about it. But I got Prince of Persia's, all those old ones on the PS3. I want to do the Uncharted.
Is it good?
I finished up Horizon Forbidden West too, like 2 weeks ago and things like that. And then I have Far Cry.
Those are good. Those are all good. I beat all of them. Except for Primal, because Primal sucks.
No, that's one of the first ones I wanted to go to eventually. I did 4.
Start with 2. I'll tell you, like, story-wise, fuck, dude, 2 is just incredible.
Yeah. I do like a good story. It's like, I want to also get to, I love playing Lego games. I know they're like childish, but
they're
just
so good.
It just releases my inner child and just things like that.
So
Just
dude, Lego Star Wars, like the original, arguably one of the best fucking games. Well, I can't tell you how many times my cousin Todd, he's 34, on the original Xbox, man, we would sit. I was probably 8. He was a little older than me, obviously. Probably 14, give or take. And dude, we would sit there playing Xbox the original Xbox all night, man, or the 360 even later on. And we would try to build all the Lego collectibles. We'd go through the same level 100 times to get all the pieces and all this shit. Yeah. And then, dude, just hanging out in the cantina.
Cantina had so many good memories growing up.
So many good memories. In a digital Star Wars cantina on Tatooine.
I'm a big Star Wars guy, so I'm like down with any. That I would say is about the only kind of TV shows or anything I'll watch. Like I finished up the Ahsoka and things like that. I do have Jedi Fallen Order on my list. I have like so many games. I have like a list of 80 games I want to play. I've played a lot.
So you'll play one game until you beat it. You won't switch up.
Yes, and right now it's because I've been doing a lot of the Call of Duties. I have been playing other games, so it's like I play with like a buddy that I met online from New Zealand, which is pretty neat. Getting to meet like people from around the world and things like that. But it's like it's a time constraint. He's 16 hours ahead of me,
right,
and things like that. So it's like we gotta like set up times, but it's like it's just. Other than that, I usually like play all those single players. That's why I've played all the Assassin's Creed.
They're so good. What's your favorite Assassin's Creed?
I don't know if I would say either Black Flag or Origins.
Origins, really? Mm-hmm. I could not stand that one. Black Flag,
yeah,
incredible, hands down. Dude, the shanties that they sing brings me to tears sometimes. Think about it. But I would say Assassin's Creed 2 for me, or Brotherhood.
See, I didn't play those first. My first one was Black Flag.
Really?
Yes. So I've recently went back in the past year. I played all those, and yes, I can see why everybody loves it and things like that. I did love Assassin's Creed 2. I do feel like the games like Revelations and Brotherhood like that with Ezio again were just like kind of like drawn out, like trying to get as much out of him. And things like that, but I really don't try and complain about video games because I'm enjoying myself.
For sure.
I
mean, it's much better. You could be digging ditches or something, or shoveling elephant poop or something. So, yeah, I talk about meeting people online, man. Just how crazy this world is. I've met one of my most influential people in my life, Dr. Charlie. He was actually on my podcast, one of the earlier episodes. We just had dinner last week. He lives on the other side of the state in KC. Mm-hmm. He flew in for a conference, and he was like, "Hey, man. What are you doing?" I was like, "Dude, I'll pick you up from the airport. Let's go get dinner." And me and him are so close. We've been very close for about 7 years now. So close to the fact, like, I met this stranger on Xbox. He's speaking at my wedding. Like, that's how good of our relationship is. And it's just crazy. You can find those incredible people that are so influential in your life anywhere. I mean, you have a guy that, so when I got my Xbox in 2006, okay, how old were you in 2006? Were you?
9.
9? Okay. I was 10. Yeah. Okay. I met a guy. His name's Jalen. Right? He lives in Chicago. He's my first friend on Xbox. I got my Xbox Christmas morning in 2006, almost 2007. And I met him on Saints Row 1 in a game called Protect the Pimp. So fucking goofy it is. Literally almost 20 years ago. And I still talk to this guy at least once a month.
I have.
I mean, we talk all the time. It's been almost 20 years. I've never met him personally. Never met him in person. But, like, he's my first friend on Xbox. We played everything from Call of Duty 4 all the way to the new Saints Row together. Yeah. And it's just crazy. Like, I have not had friendships in real life last that long.
There's a guy, I met his dad and son playing Call of Duty and stuff back then. And, I plan this upcoming summer, I plan on going up to Pittsburgh where he lives. And, we just, even if we're just, like, hanging out for, like, a day or two or whatever, we just finally want to, like, meet in person. Even though, like, yeah, we've talked for the past 10 plus years, So it is, I do feel like, too, I don't know if it's because they aren't physically here, too, that some of those relationships are that good. But also, I feel like it doesn't need to be, in a sense, physical that they're there. They're still giving their time and, their thought on things and like that. It doesn't mean you guys can't be, like, friends or good, buddies like that. Like you said, one of the guys is in your wedding.
Yeah. I mean, we played together for like 4 years, and then I said, "Hey, man, I'm going out to Kansas. do you want to get together? I would never, I was going out there for whatever, right? And I would never think I would go to Kansas City. And I was actually going to Lawrence, which is like 30 minutes past KC. I was like, hey man, I'm being in Lawrence these days. Like, are you down to get breakfast? And he's like, absolutely, hell yeah. And he came and we met and we had breakfast. And then there's been like 2 or 3 other times that I've been out in his neck of the woods that I'll go hang out with him and we'll go get dinner and talk. And then he came here and we got dinner and we hung out for the night, and it's just, I never in my mind, if you would have asked me like 10 years ago, like, oh, you would have said to me, Nate, in 10 years from now, you're going to have one of the most important people in your life meet on Halo Wars of all games, right? And he's going to speak at your wedding. I would say you're full of shit. Yeah. But now I look to this guy as like a father figure to me. He's taught me so much, and it's just, and he's actually 60, which is crazy. Played Xbox and he's 60 years old, but you couldn't tell he's 60. He looks like he's 42 years old. He's in the best shape ever. Dude's a workout freak and he's healthy as a horse, and he's energetic as all can be. But anyways, I would never have guessed I would have such a solid relationship from that. Look at our friendship. I mean, even, right? Like those relationships come out of nowhere, man. Because we were in the same group chat, the workout accountability group chat for months, and
it's like we were kind of in the same friend group in high school. Even like I knew who you were and things like that, but I never like had a real conversation. Conversation with you. I was just like, oh yeah, I know that guy. Or I've seen him before. I know that's Nate, but it's like...
If I met you in high school, man, I guarantee you I was fucked up. Guarantee you I was drunk. So I don't recall.
You had your buzz cut hair, and you always wore, I think, like 2 or 3 chains, and usually had a wife beater on.
That sounds right.
I saw you.
That sounds right, yeah.
I have a... That's who I remembered you.
That's about 80 pounds ago, my friend. Bear with me. Yeah. So once again, to my point earlier, if you've met me in high school, re-meet me, please. I'm a totally different person, for God's sake.
I think we all slowly change. Some of us for the better, some get worse, but
yeah, I definitely agree. But I think people just need to find that inner drive for them to realize that, hey man, like I need to be a better version of myself. Mm-hmm. And like you said, some people will regress and some people will progress. I think you definitely have progressed. I hope I have as well. But some people are, I don't know, man. We're all just on our own.
We're on our own path,
our own journey. Yeah.
And we're going at our own speed. You don't need to go from the start line to the finish line. It's just like you said earlier with if I lost 100 pounds in a day or thing like that. It's the same way with that. But
I agree, man. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I won't keep you. I loved everything you're saying. I think it's all great. I think you're a huge inspiration to others. I would encourage anybody out there like myself, if you're on a kind of it can be an extreme as Garrett where like, hey, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in this and continue. Or it could be like, I need to lose 10 pounds. Reach out to people that are on these journeys that are having successes because, the more you can learn from others, the better it's going to help you.
Most of the time, people are always willing to help.
Always. I've never been in the gym where I've asked for help and somebody's been like, go fuck yourself. Yeah, I've never one time.
Never have. There's been plenty of people that have come up to me and been like, hey, here, this is how you're supposed to do it. Oh, man, that really does. Things like that. It's just like, most of the time people do want everybody to succeed,
Yeah, I agree. But I think sometimes it might be hard for people to just let people know that, right?
Yes.
Because, people to ask for help. But also people have anxiety about like, oh, I got to compete with this person because they have a new truck or they have a new house or they have a bigger house or they have a hotter girlfriend, whatever. Like, stop the competitions, compete with yourself, and just be the better version of yourself. Because at the end of the day, man, like you're going to be more happier. Yeah. You might still be in a smaller house or drive a lesser value truck or whatever, but that person that's seeking those materialistic, egotistical things are always going to be after that fix, and you're going to be happy with just yourself and proud of yourself.
And I feel like too, they say some of the poorest people in the world are the happiest.
Always. It always is, man.
Because they're just happy about the little things and things like that. Just being together with certain people and things like that. They don't need to have, 10 cars and things like that. Just the little things.
Yeah, for me, I've always been a very materialistic person. Anybody that knows me knows I've always liked the nicer things and I'll pay money for it. But in the last, I'd say 6 months to a year, I've really worked on against that. I've really worked on just being happy with what I have. Not being content or complacent, but like just being thankful for what I have and like, hey, maybe I don't need to go out there and buy, the fishing pole that's $5,000 catches the same amount of fish as the $20 pole. And I know that from experience because I have a $250 pole and I've caught more fucking fish on my $19 Zebco. Like it's and you know now I use
and they probably last longer somehow.
Yeah, well now I use an ugly stick, which is like a $36 pole, and I've caught hundreds of fishes with that damn thing. And the couple $100 fishing pole that I had, but my point being is like, drop the materialistic things, stop keeping up with the Joneses, man. Keep up with yourself, be consistent with yourself, be happy with yourself, But before we jump, man, do you have any questions for me or anything that I can help you with? If I can be of any resource, please let me know, because you've been a great resource to me.
Putting me on the spot here, but I can't. Whenever I have something, I will always ask. That's my always thing. If I don't think of something now, I have no problem with asking, because I don't mind asking for help, because we all need it.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Well, brother, thanks again for everything, man. I appreciate all the tips and tricks you shared with us today and a little bit more about your story, and I look forward to having you as a guest again.
All right. Thank you.
All right, brother.